Think of the people you interact with every day. Would you want to spend a day in a canoe with them? This show is about hearing stories from exceptional people that can help jumpstart and inspire you to create the life you want. One filled with wealth, wisdom, meaning, and purpose. And that starts with surrounding yourself with the right people. And the people I'm interviewing, I believe you'd want to spend a day with in a canoe. I'm your host, Nathan Mercereau. So I want to welcome Brian Gast today. Brian is a former CEO who managed 3 fast-growing telecommunication companies, and then he became an executive coach. He's a certified forum facilitator for YPO, has a master's in business administration, familiar with things like Enneagram, really focused on helping people find their purpose and potential, and in fact has a book about the business of wanting more, why some executives move from success to fulfillment and others don't. So welcome, Brian. I guess my direct question is, why don't people find fulfillment when they are living in success?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Nathan. Why don't they seek fulfillment? I think humans actually are kind of lousy predictors of what will make them happy. Even though we know better, we still tend to look for happiness in many of the wrong places. Like The Business of Wanting More, that book came to me because we keep accumulating more and more and more stuff that we actually never needed in the first place. So, my own story of just like dissatisfaction, every time I kind of hit the thing that I thought was going to bring me happiness. So I just noticed that for a lot of executives, our orientation and our culture is so out there that we miss the real location of what it is that makes for fulfillment. And that's stuff that's in here. It's not stuff you can kind of think or work or buy your way into. It's an internal job. It's an inside job. The nature of fulfillment is.
That's fascinating. So what was your story? You worked through the corporate world and had a number of highs and lows. What was that about?
Yeah, when I came out of college, all I wanted to do was be in business. Back in the day of hard case briefcases, I would carry my briefcase, get on the train, take the train in from the suburbs to the bank I worked at in downtown Philadelphia, and I thought, well, I've arrived. Fast forward, I was a banker, I was a venture capitalist, I was doing all the things again that certainly in the business world, this would be, the path to happiness and success. And I'd say in a lot of ways, it was really exciting my business career, my whole entire career has been really exciting, but particularly working in businesses and building community, leadership strategy. I think I was good at it. I generated good results. And yet, over time, there was this kind of missing piece. And I just couldn't always figure out what that missing piece was. But I finally identified that the missing piece was I was excited, but I wasn't deeply happy. It wasn't deeply fulfilled. And so I began also to make certain choices and decisions that I would just call them self-sabotaging or kind of self-destructive. So there was something that was not working, and I ended up in a couple situations either making kind of outsized financial bets. I'd kind of make politically not so shrewd moves with my boards and investors. And frankly, Nathan, there was a part of me that was full of myself. And a lot of that resulted in I would just call them missteps, blind spots, stepping into my blind spot.
Hmm. And how did you become aware of your blind spots? I mean, did you wake up one day, say, hey, I think I have some blind spots. Let me clear that closet out? Or what led to your awareness of this?
Well, when things wouldn't go my way, everybody else was to blame but me. So that I actually took me a long time. It's like one teacher of mine would say, after age 30, you stop learning from your successes. You only learn from your failures. So actually, the more successful I got, the bigger my blind spot got. And I even went as far as to take these long, week long executive development training programs. They were offsite and usually in really beautiful settings, and you'd be surrounded by an army of organizational psychologists. And I bamboozled them all. They had no sense of what was really driving me, or if they did, I couldn't hear. I couldn't hear them tell me it. So it actually took a few blow-ups for me to ultimately start saying, "All right, maybe this has something to do with me," and to stop blaming, everything around me, and to get kind of visibility into that. And frankly, I the reason I got into executive coaching is I noticed that there were a lot of programs that were more cognitive, more intellectual. They weren't actually confronting the deeper material, the beliefs and the blocks inside of me. They actually were kind of the hidden drivers of my success and creating all kinds of collateral damage in the process. So it took actually some deeper dives outside of the typical corporate training environment to start to wake up to what was not working inside Brian.
So if someone's listening and they're reflecting on the last deal that they did or the success that they created, but there's a little openness or emptiness, how, how do you speak into that person's listening about maybe what to be attuned to at this stage that they might be facing?
It starts with an honest inventory of how things are really going. And you can try to do that on your own. You can try to make that assessment. But frankly, you're going to potentially have a bias and you might not notice what it is that's not going well. But let's just take a few things. How's your health? What's the depth and satisfaction of your relationships, friendships, people that are close to you? Who really knows you? And how attached are you to your identities out there of your roles? As being the executive or being the successful, visible person. If you took some of that away, how satisfied would you be in your life? How much do you enjoy your own company? I mean, these are just things that you would start asking yourself to kind of do your own whole life assessment. But boy, if you really want to know, ask people you that are in your life that you think will give you honest answers. In an executive peer group, a YPO forum, or where are you getting the truth telling in your life? Who's going to tell you that, hey, Nathan, you got something stuck in your teeth, or am I just going to keep telling you all the stuff that's going to affirm you and keep you comfortable? And that's the heavy lifting, I think, that conscious leaders do, is they put themselves in situations where they're really taking an accurate, honest inventory of what's working and not working in their life.
And in your view, do you think that a person has to come to the end of their rope, or a lot of bad things happen circumstantially to give them that perspective, or can they course correct along the way?
I would say they don't necessarily have to totally derail. But what happens is we have a period in our life, if we're high achievers, and we got a lot of success kind of wind in our sails, we're kind of moving along. And even if it's just the way we start to get older, somewhere by the time we're 40 or so, we're going to be faced with the crisis of our own limitations. And that might show up as a derailment, a surprise from their partner that they want the relationship to the primary partner in their life, the life partner, to end, or a business partner all of a sudden they have a falling out with, or they realize that their aging parents are going to pass quicker than they thought they were. Something happens with their children. Some reminder of the limitations that we've got to kind of be superheroes and fix everything. That starts to show a little, it actually starts to invite us to look a little bit more internally as to, what's maybe not working outside of those typical things that we measure success in this culture by. And maybe in that way you could start to head off, something. I'll just tell you, for me, I'm a slow learner. So I not only had to lose money like once, I had to do it multiple times. I not only had to do, little, conflicts, I had to do bigger ones. But it finally, maybe I'm a slow learner. It takes me a little. I'm an experiential learner, so it takes me a couple times, and then finally, I'm starting to say, okay, maybe this is something to do with me.
That's great insight. I know in our business of wealth management, we're helping people create wealth, preserve wealth, a lot of discussion around money. And we're fortunate to work with so many people that are influencers and connectors, and they really do a great job with their wealth management. But it's often that we find that there are pockets of time in a person's life where there's emptiness, or there's a questioning about what's the next chapter, or a reflection on, I've achieved X, but is my family connected to me? Or are some of these key relationships that I have valued present and healthy today? So many times there's we take finances and use that as a way to plan for the future, but living within that future and being present and fulfilled is really the essence of why we're here together. As you work with people individually, what are you finding are common threads or things that you're helping people with as you focus on the coaching side?
Yeah, well, here let's just start with the things that oftentimes don't fulfill. And money in and of itself, the accumulation of it, you don't believe me, you just try it yourself, or ask your friends that are wealthier than you and see if they're happier than you. And so just see if there's a correlation between the two. There's been enough research on that subject that would say that up to about $75,000 to $125,000 a year, money doesn't tend to be something that contributes to our happiness. But humans are lousy forecasters, and we'll still think that, no, this will be the thing. So you know that story, and people of wealth know that story. They know that to some degree, once they hit their number, that it stops being a motivator. And sometimes that's like, ooh, what is going to drive me now? Yeah, right? What is going to, and these things, like, just for a second to say more about this, because there's the things like making money or being, successful in my career are actually strategies to meet needs. They actually may or may not meet the need that you oftentimes don't, because we pursue something that's on a more surface level when the need is actually a little more deeper. So I'd say my story is, I wanted to accumulate a lot of wealth and a lot of visible career and business success. But actually, my deeper need was to be seen. My deeper need was to be affirmed, felt worthy, those kinds of things. Great fuel for a high achiever, but also a recipe for unhappiness. So, it could be relationships. I think we're humans. The species, connecting is an important need. I think having a sense of purpose, however you use that language, purpose or mission or legacy, or I find that is a source of satisfaction for a lot of people, and frankly, connecting with something bigger than yourself, serving something that's bigger than yourself, in terms of a cause or even a higher power for some. Those are really core. I mean, I think in my book, it's like self-acceptance, connection, purpose, and service. These building block kind of needs that once you meet those, that's the ingredients of being fulfilled. So set your life up to make sure that those needs are directly met, as opposed to these strategies that might provide some short-term hit or a little bit of short-term comfort, but not deep satisfaction.
Excellent insight. Brian, I want to thank you for your time today. I've enjoyed our conversations over time and appreciate the work that you focused on in helping people find their path to fulfillment. So thank you again, and all the best.
Thanks for having me on, Nathan. It's been fun.
Thank you for listening and tuning in to Day in a Canoe. We are thrilled to have you as part of our community. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share it with your friends and loved ones. You can always get more information at dayinacanoe.com. We'll see you next time.